The banking system is going south, rapidly declining and failing. 2 weeks after 3 significant banks failed, another is reportedly in trouble, except this time it's one of the biggest banks in the world, Deutsche Bank, which holds 3 times more money than Credit Suisse, estimated around $1.6 trillion. Also, they are categorized as financially significant and systemically critical, too large to fail institutions. And just like Credit Suisse, they've also been involved in quite a lot of controversy, which has some investors worried that they might be the next. This is what we are going to discuss in our Banking Crises series, and why the banking situation does not appear to be improving despite ongoing rescue efforts. And now, let's start the discussion regarding Deutsche Bank. For those who don't know, this is a German bank with many generations and a history spanning more than 150 years, 82,000 workers, and offices all over the world. In fact, they're one of the biggest banks around, which is when things start to change slightly. See, on the surface, everything starts with the so-called banking crisis. Throughout 2020 and 2021, interest rates were held at 0% as a way to encourage the entire economy to continue growing and spending. People started to borrow a lot of money, and as one would expect, a lot of that money was deposited back into the banking system, which would be a sensible move for people to make. But a bank doesn't merely leave your money sitting in a vault after accepting it. Instead, they lend it out and make investments in it with the goal of increasing it and eventually returning some of it to you as compensation for keeping your money with the bank. However, in this instance, because interest rates were so low and U.S. banks had so much cash, a sizable portion of their deposits were used to purchase low-yield U.S. treasuries, which saw a sharp decline in value once the Fed started swiftly raising interest rates. Since the bank technically still has access to their money, this would not be a major concern in a regular market. But Silicon Valley Bank stood out, and when their clients started making withdrawals at precisely the same moment, that led to a liquidity crisis, which ultimately led to 3 banks fully failing. What is its relation to Deutsche Bank, you could ask? Well, following a brief panic in U.S. banking, international Credit Suisse started having similar issues as customers started taking out billions of dollars from the institution, which led to the bank's largest yearly loss since the 2008 financial crisis. The bank subsequently acknowledged that as a result of inadequate internal controls, it had discovered significant flaws in its financial reporting during the previous 2 years. And when one of the biggest banks in the world says this, many of its clients start to fear, which causes them to keep sliding until UBS finally steps in to buy them for pennies on the dollar. However, what people found the most remarkable was that just prior, Credit Suisse had received a clean bill of health from regulators and then took less than a week to completely implode, leaving everybody to wonder who's next. Apparently people now think it's Deutsche Bank, and it's easy to see why. Just inevitable. But in this case, their share price has taken a similar hit to that of Credit Suisse, having fallen 92% from its high in 2007 after a series of poorly timed investments and buyouts. And now concerns are growing again of the bank's future and whether or not they can make it through now. In terms of what's happening today, look no further than credit default swaps. When it comes to Deutsche Bank, their credit default swaps spiked in a similar fashion to what we saw with Credit Suisse right before they were bought out, signaling that investors think there's a high likelihood that potentially something could happen. Or I guess more simply put, people are drawing a lot of comparisons between what happened with Credit Suisse and what is beginning to happen now with Deutsche Bank. And that's scaring a lot of investors into panic. Please stay tuned to get updates regarding banking sector and real estate. If you are an emerging real estate agent or looking to buy or sell your house, please feel free to contact Cindy Joseph on any platform.